All right, welcome back to the Word on Pop Culture podcast. I'm Julian Spivey, the creator and editor of the Word on Pop Culture. You can find us online at thewordonpopculture.com. You've already found our podcast, so please leave us a like, review, or rating wherever you're listening from. I'm joined by Tyler Glover for today's show, and we're going to do our annual Emmy Awards prediction show. Welcome back to the show, Tyler.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here.
So the 77th annual Primetime Emmy Awards are going to be held Sunday, September 14th, and broadcast on CBS this year. The telecast will be hosted by comedian Nate Bargatze, who is a two-time nominee this year himself for his Netflix comedy special, Your Friend Nate Bargatze. Tyler and I are going to go through the major categories that will be on the telecast, all of the supporting and all of the lead acting categories for the comedy series, drama series, and limited series, as well as the shows in those three categories themselves. And before we get going on our predictions, I wanted to remind listeners about the Emmy nominee draft, which was one of our recent episodes of the Word on Pop Culture that Tyler and I did with April Hansen Spivey. And it has been one of our most popular episodes ever, and you can find that in our archives. So please give that one a listen if you haven't already. We had so much fun doing that one, and it's been so popular that we're probably going to make that one an annual Emmys episode as well.
Yes, that'll be great.
So let's just get straight to the categories, and we'll start with the comedy series. So the nominees for supporting actress in a comedy series are Liza Colon-Zayas from The Bear, Hannah Einbinder from Hacks, Catherine Hahn from The Studio, Janelle James from Abbott Elementary, Catherine O'Hara from The Studio, Cheryl Lee Ralph from Abbott Elementary, and Jessica Williams from Shrinking. Now, how Tyler and I usually do this is we will give our pick as to who we would vote for if we had a vote, and then we will give our actual prediction. In some categories, that may be the same person. So, Tyler, who do you think should win for supporting actress in a comedy series?
For this category, the should win for me is definitely Hannah Einbinder. I feel like it's kind of weird though because it's like I feel like Jessica Williams should win because I feel like Hannah Einbinder should already have her Emmy.
Yeah.
But since Einbinder doesn't have that Emmy, that's why I'm like, oh, well, we've got to get her Emmy first, and then we can get Jessica Williams hers because Einbinder's deserved it for several years, and I'm really hoping that this is her year that she can get it. So for me, the should win is Hannah Einbinder.
So Jean Smart has won the Emmy in lead actress every season so far for Hacks. So she already has 3 Emmys. I feel like Hannah Einbinder should already have 3 Emmys as well. And I hate to sound like, I'm just piling on here, but I am in complete agreement with you here as I don't think Hannah Einbinder's 4th season of Hacks was quite as funny or as good as Jessica Williams's 2nd season of Shrinking. So maybe Hannah Einbinder is not as worthy of winning this year as Jessica Williams, but because I think she should have won multiple Emmys by now, I think we have to give Hannah Einbinder some love while we can and hope that down the line Jessica Williams can win one too. So I'm also going with, if I had a vote, I would give Hannah Einbinder the award. And that was also your prediction, right?
Yes, I look at this. This is a great category, by the way. Like I've watched all these shows, and like I liked every performance. Some of them I loved. Like I don't feel like there was a bad one in the bunch, honestly. So I mean, like I feel like anybody that could win would be deserving, but I just feel like it's Einbinder's time,
Yeah.
and I feel like she will, and I feel like the Emmys will give it to her too.
I'm also going to go with Hannah Einbinder as my official prediction, but I do think that this is one of the more wide open categories of the night. I could see 6 or maybe even all 7 of these nominees have a shot at winning. Liza Colon-Zayas, I believe, won last year based on the episode that she is actually nominated for this year. So surely they won't give her, because of the way The Bear was eligible. It gets weird with eligibility periods. But surely they won't give it to her again, thinking, oh, well, this is the episode. She deserves it. And I worry a little bit about Catherine O'Hara winning because she's so beloved, although she does already have an Emmy win, of course, for Schitt's Creek, so they may not feel like it's necessary to give her an award for the studio. But also, the studio was the most nominated comedy of any comedy series, so that may help her. Three of my favorite performances of the year are in this category: Hannah Einbinder, Jessica Williams, and Janelle James from Abbott Elementary. So this is really wide open, but we're going to be in agreement here that it is time to give Hannah Einbinder an award she greatly deserves.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's go to supporting actor in a comedy series now, and the nominees are Ike Barinholtz for The Studio, Coleman Domingo for The Four Seasons, Harrison Ford for Shrinking, Jeff Hiller for Somebody Somewhere, Eben Moss Backrack for The Bear, Michael Urie for Shrinking, and Bowen Yang for Saturday Night Live. I don't feel like this one is quite as open as the supporting actress category. And
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it's probably a two-man race. I think it's going to be a race between Ike Barinholtz for The Studio and Harrison Ford for Shrinking. Now, Eben Moss Backrack has won this award both times he's been eligible for it. He's a two-time defending winner of this category, so maybe people love him enough to where he might have a chance to sneak in there again. But I really think it's between Barinholtz and Ford. What do you think there? And which one? And who would you vote for?
Yeah, see, I agree with you 100%. I think that Barinholtz and Ford, it's going to be one of them with Moss Backrack as kind of like a possible, not really kind of thing. Doing some reading in preparation for this, and I saw that apparently Harrison Ford has been doing some real campaigning in the final days of the voting. Sometimes that really does help to make yourself visible at that just right time. And so I'm wondering if that could help him. And also, he's Harrison Ford, and we've talked about that on. So sometimes name recognition can help also, but
And
in this case,
he certainly has more name recognition than Ike Barinholtz. Ike
oh yeah,
Barinholtz has been around a long time, has done a lot of great TV, but he's not. Harrison Ford is an all time movie legend.
Harrison Ford would be my should win in this category. I think that he should win. Definitely feel like it's going to be one of them too. One thing that keeps irking, like that kind of makes me like shy away from going with Harrison Ford for Shrinking, is just like I keep thinking about how the last several years when Ted Lasso won comedy series, it was followed by Jason Sudeikis and Brett Goldstein, and then with The Bear, it was Jeremy Allen White and Eben Moss Backrack, and like like it seems like those categories go so hand in hand.
Yeah.
And it just makes me feel like that for some reason that's making it hard for me to predict Harrison Ford for Shrinking, especially since the studio is the leader of the nominations in comedy series too. So I know it's very well loved, and I feel like Shrinking, even though it got more love this season, I don't feel like it's as high profile for the Academy. In a way, for some reason, it just doesn't feel that way, even though it should be. So I feel like it's going to be Ike Barinholtz, but I would love to be proven wrong in this, and that Harrison Ford actually does sneak in there and win.
Yeah, Harrison Ford is also the one that I would vote for if I had a vote. And one thing that Harrison Ford may have going for him is that not only is his character extremely funny, but there's also some really good dramatic moments. So that may help as far as the studio goes. It's all laughs. There are no dramatic moments, which is perfectly fine. This is a comedy category. But if that happens and Harrison Ford wins, it would be similar to the Ted Lasso wins you talked about, where there was a mixture of drama and comedy, and it would differ from the Bear wins, where let's face it, there just wasn't that much comedy in there. It was more dramatic. But I think I agree with you. I think this is going to be Ike Barinholtz's award to win, and I think that it might be a little bit surprising to some people watching the telecast, because even though the studio is so beloved among TV people, I don't know if it's one that the casual television watcher would have seen. But honestly, the casual television watcher is probably not even watching the Emmys at this point in time.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the nominees for actress in a comedy series, and they are Uzo Aduba for The Residents, Kristen Bell for Nobody Wants This, Quinta Brunson for Abbott Elementary, Io Edebiri for The Bear, and Jean Smart for Hacks. Gene Smart has won this award all 3 seasons so far for Hacks, and 3 of the last 4 years. There was a year there in between that Hacks wasn't eligible, and Quinta Brunson actually won that year for Abbott Elementary. So two former winners in this category, and then Io Edebiri won a supporting actor award for the same character that she's playing in The Bear. So technically 3 winners in this category, just not for the same award. This one I don't think is all too close, which is wild because you would think people would be tired of checking off the box beside Gene Smart's name. But I feel like she's going to make it a 4 for 4. So that's my prediction. I had a little bit more of a harder time with who I would vote for because I absolutely love Kristen Bell and Nobody Wants This. I would like to see some love for Nobody Wants This, but I feel like with it airing so long ago, it may not be in the forefront of people's minds when it comes to the actual voting. And I think ultimately I just love Jean Smart so much as well. So she is both my choice and my prediction.
Yeah, I agree. This category to me just feels like when I think about trying to predict this category, I just keep thinking about how this category, the Emmys love repeat winners in. Like Candice Bergen won 5 for Murphy Brown and then stopped submitting herself to give other people a chance. And then Helen Hunt for Mad About You won 4 in a row after that. And then Julia Louis-Dreyfus went 6 for 7 out of the seasons for Veep for Best Lead Actress. It's crazy. Like, I mean, like, I feel like I've seen a lot of these performances. I think the only performance I haven't seen is of Uzo Aduba for The Residents. And I feel like all of them are like deserving to be there, but it's like it just doesn't like even though I'm so excited, especially for Kristen Bell to finally get an Emmy nomination after not getting one for Veronica Mars and then even coming so close with A Good Place. Like part of me, you would think I'd be so excited for her to possibly win, but I just it's like even though her performance was so good, it just doesn't feel like an Emmy winning performance to me. It's like worthy of the nomination, but just I don't know. Like I don't see it as a winning performance, especially when you put her in comparison to Jean Smart, perhaps who's just absolutely killed it. And like you said, like you would think that they would get tired of name checking, but it's just like in this category, it just feels like that's the winner. Let's go to the next category. You know.
Well, in just 4 seasons, Gene Smart has turned the character of Deborah Vance into one of the all-time great characters in television history. So it's really, I guess, shouldn't be that surprising.
Mhm.
The nominees for actor in a comedy series are Adam Brody for Nobody Wants This, Seth Rogen for The Studio, Jason Segel for Shrinking, Martin Short for Only Murders in the Building, and Jeremy Allen White for The Bear. Jeremy Allen White is the reigning 2 time winner of this category, and yet it feels like he stands virtually no chance at making it 3 in a row, which is interesting. This is the one where I am the furthest between my pick and my prediction because I think Gene Smart and Hannah Einbinder are the favorites to win their category. And even though I picked Ike Barinholtz to win over Harrison Ford for supporting actor, I think there's a pretty decent chance Harrison Ford might also win. My pick, the one I would vote for actor in a comedy series, I don't think stands a chance, and that would be Jason Segel for Shrinking. Would you agree with that? Would he also be your pick, or are you going somewhere else?
That's actually exactly where I'm at too. Like my should win would be Jason Segel for Shrinking, and I don't see that happening at all. But I would love. It's one of those things I would love it to happen though. Like I'd be so excited if it did happen because and I know we've talked about this too, like before about how Jason Segel just has like there's just some heart with that comedy,
Mm-hmm.
and we've talked about how Seth Rogen's character is a little more, just so self-centered that it's hard to have some heart. Just it's, and I don't know. I think that makes Jason Segel's character just more likable and more funny. And like I know from us talking in another podcast, Jason Segel's character is just like the one, probably in this category, the one I'd like to hang out with the most too, if these characters were real. And
Well, Adam
yeah,
Brody is mighty charming, and Nobody Wants This. It's one of the most charming performances of the year in television. But I agree with you when it comes to Jason Segel.
yeah,
I don't think anybody's really going to want to hang out with Carmy from The Bear. Sorry, Carmy.
no,
All
sorry.
right, so we're kind of in line with this. We would both vote for Jason Segel, but I think we both know it deep down that the winner is virtually a lock to be Seth Rogen.
Yeah, I agree. Before the Emmy nominations officially came out, I know some people were thinking that Martin Short stood a chance for Only Murders in the Building with him surprisingly, because I remember I was surprised that he won at SAG earlier this
Hmm.
year in that category, and they were thinking, oh well, he could be the front runner. But with the Love, Only Murders is just a show that even though it gets nominations, it just doesn't seem like it can convert a lot of those over into wins.
Yeah.
I think it's and I think the studio is just the hot show for the Emmys this year.
Part of the reason with Martin Short, and I do think he would be the runner up if somebody were to unseat Seth Rogen this year. Part of the reason he won with SAG is because SAG is only voted on by the actors, whereas plus Seth Rogen wasn't yet eligible. Whereas the Emmys has a bigger, I believe, voting body for these categories. I don't think Short stands as much of a chance as he did at SAG, but it's
Mm-hmm.
always possible. And I think if he did win, it would kind of be for all the wrong reasons. Kind of be because of his stature and his icon status.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get to the big one for comedy, the Outstanding Comedy Series. The nominations are Abbott Elementary on ABC, The Bear on Hulu, Hacks on HBO Max, Nobody Wants This on Netflix, Only Murders in the Building on Hulu, Shrinking on Apple TV Plus, The Studio on Apple TV Plus, and What We Do in the Shadows on FX. The reigning winner in this category is Hacks, which kind of surprised people last year when it dethroned The Bear, which had won for its first season. I think that this one is probably, even though Hacks is back, I don't think this one's going to be particularly close. I think it is going to be The Studio for Apple TV Plus, which got the most nominations of any comedy. And if I had to write in a pick myself, I would actually go with the other Apple TV Plus series in this category with Shrinking, but there are probably three or four other shows in this category that stand a better chance of winning than Shrinking. But I do think The Studio is a lock. What do you think about this category?
Yeah, I agree. Like in the studio, like even though, because I agree with you on both actually. Like my should win. I would, if I was voting, I would vote for Shrinking 100%. But the studio is also the industry just loves shows about themselves and the things that they can relate to a lot. You see it across all award shows that tends to be a favorite. And this one was, I mean, it was like I remember just loving like how many cameos they had with or not even just cameos, but like full on like guest spots, with like Ron Howard, Martin Scorsese, Zoe Kravitz, Zac Efron, Sarah Polly. Sarah Polly was in my favorite episode, The Oneer, and
She
I
was,
just
man, speaking of Sarah Polly, I know we're not going to go over the guest categories today. Sarah Polly was screwed out of an Emmy nomination.
yes, she really was. She
She
was
should have been a
so
lock for
funny in
guest
that
actress in a
episode.
comedy series.
Yes, and that I mean, I remember enjoying every episode of the studio so much, and I did kind of like how it was a little more episodic because I feel like a lot of shows aren't like that anymore, and I did like how there was like a certain conflict in that one episode, and then it kind of was resolved at the end. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of shows nowadays kind of keep things going over a long season, and I kind of did like that episodic touch. I really did love the studio, and I liked it a lot, and I see why Emmy voters would want to vote for it. But Shrinking for me, like that second the first season was already fantastic, and I couldn't believe it didn't get nominated for comedy series last year. But then, I was just so excited that it got in for these bigger categories for well, at least getting into comedy series and more acting nominations for season two. And I wish it stood more of a chance because it's the show that if you're not watching out there, you need to watch.
Yes, I agree with that, and I think that once more people start to get hip to it, which hopefully the nominations and all of these categories that they're eligible for will help people find Shrinking. And it's still hard. Apple TV Plus is doing so great with the Emmy Awards. They have the most nominated comedy, they have the most nominated drama, they have the most nominated series overall, and then they have a show like Shrinking that's also nominated quite a bit. But it still seems like so many people, if there's a streaming service that people do not have, it is Apple TV Plus, which is wild to me because it has the best shows I think of any current streamer. It's just that there is virtually no backlog library with that, so I don't know if people, I guess people think that they're not going to get their money's worth. But you know what, Netflix may have a gazillion shows and movies to watch, but the majority of them are crap.
I agree with you on that 100%. Like I on Netflix, I can be scrolling for a long period of time and then just give up. to
Netflix,
find something to
Netflix
watch.
for the most part. Now there are shows that I like that we're going to talk about in the show, but for the most part, Netflix is absolute crap. Let's get on to the drama series categories. The supporting actress nominees in the drama series are Patricia Arquette for Severance, Carrie Coon for The White Lotus, Catherine Lanassa for The Pit, Julianne Nicholson for Paradise, Parker Posey for The White Lotus, Natasha Rothwell for The White Lotus, and Amy Lou Wood for The White Lotus. Tyler, what are you thinking about this category?
Tons of White Lotus ladies. Um, which is crazy. I will say one nomination that I was excited to see in this category was Julianne Nicholson for Paradise. Like I had just that was the show that I was catching up on the most when the Emmy nominations came out, and I remember thinking she stood like virtually no chance, and I was so excited she got there. But as far as who will win, I'm feeling like it's going to be Carrie Coon for The White Lotus. She something that I think is going to help her too is that I've been hearing that she's really really good in the show The Gilded Age, which I haven't seen.
Yeah,
But I've heard that that season has been like this latest season has been airing at the same time. From what I've heard, they feel like that might actually help, which she would also be a deserving winner. I feel like she was really good, but I feel like that might help her give her the edge over some of the other ladies in this category. But if I went with a should win, I would go with Amy Lou Wood for The White Lotus. I just felt like her character, she was such a free spirit and had so much heart. And I know me and you have talked about how on The White Lotus, there's a lot of times you don't like a lot of the characters,
yeah.
and I feel like she was one of them that you did like. And for me, if I was voting, I would give it to Amy Lee Wood for The White Lotus. But I'm predicting Carrie Coon to win for The White Lotus.
I would certainly say that if I had to vote for one of the four nominees from the White Lotus, that I would agree with you. I would vote for Amy Lou Wood. Carrie Coon seems to be the consensus pick to win supporting actress in the drama series, which is where my prediction may be the one that is furthest off come Emmy night, because I'm going to predict Patricia Arquette will win for season 2 of Severance. And the reason why I'm going to predict Patricia Arquette is I think that there may be enough people out there who just are sick and tired of the White Lotus that they may be looking somewhere else. Plus, you might have Carrie Coon and Amy Lou Wood, Natasha Rothwell, Parker Posey have some vote splitting going on. So between the vote splitting and people just being tired of the White Lotus, I think that there may be some people out there wanting to pick between Patricia Arquette, Catherine Lanassa, or Julianne Nicholson. And I think that there might be enough of them to get Patricia Arquette an Emmy win for Severance. Now, again, I could be completely far off because your pick, Carrie Coon, definitely seems to be the consensus. But Patricia Arquette is my prediction, and if I had a vote, she would also be my choice. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, she would be a very deserving winner. I know the episode she submitted, which I won't give spoilers about, but I really, like, I know that that episode was a very, very good Emmy submission. And I honestly could see it happening. I mean, because I feel like, I feel like Severance is going to get an acting win somewhere.
Yeah, I
Um,
know you were concerned. I know
so,
you were concerned that it may, despite having the most nominations of any television show, not just drama, that it may end up not having an acting win. But here, I'm going out on the limb and saying it'll be Patricia Arquette.
mhm. Which that would, like I said, that would be a deserving win. I would not be upset with that win. So.
The nominations for supporting actor in a drama series are Zach Cherry for Severance, Walton Goggins for The White Lotus, Jason Isaacs for The White Lotus, James Marsden for Paradise, Sam Rockwell for The White Lotus, Tremel Tillman for Severance, and John Turturro for Severance. Three from The White Lotus, three from Severance. If there are voters out there that just don't jive with either of those shows, congratulations to James Marsden. But I don't think that's going to happen. He was really good in Paradise, though. Uh, if I had a vote, it would go to John Turturro. I think that he probably would have been my choice for the first season as well. But yeah, he would definitely be my choice for season 2 of Severance, even though I really dug Zach Cherry and Tremel Tillman's performances as well. Woe's Hollow, the episode that where John Turturro did his best work in season 2, I think was the best episode of that season. And I just really have always admired John Turturro in general as an actor. But I do think that Walton Goggins is the most likely pick to win this category. So I'm going to go Walton Goggins to win. What do you think?
This category is, in my opinion, the only person that I don't feel like deserves to be here is Sam Rockwell for the White Lotus.
He's here
Um,
for a monologue. That's all he's here for.
yes, like yeah, I agree with you, and like, but every other performance is so good. Like like every one of them is so good, and I would be happy, I think, with anybody winning that in this category. It's kind of funny though, because I feel like me and you are so funny. I'm kind of curious to see which one of us may be right, or if both of us are right. Because I feel like it's kind of funny what you did in supporting actress with drama is what I'm doing here. I feel like they might, instead of going with the White Lotus here, they might go with Severance here and give Tremel Tillman the win. But it's so hard though because Walton Goggins was so freaking good in the White Lotus. So it's really kind of hard. But I feel in my head, I just feel like it's going to be one of those two. But I feel like they're going to give Severance an acting win, and it could be Patricia Arquette, but I'm going to go with thinking that it's going to be Tremel Tillman. And honestly, for my should win, I struggle because Tremel Tillman was so good as Milchek. I loved how he seemed so menacing, even though he was like trying to be polite and stuff. Like the way he
Hmm.
did that, that was really, that had to have been incredibly difficult to do. And he managed to do it just to perfection. I'm going with Tremel Tillman, but I could see it being Walton Goggins.
Yeah. Did you give your who you would vote for? Was it Trammell?
I think I would, but Goggins was so good too. Like it would be hard. I would probably go back. It would probably be the last thing I would vote for on my ballot because it
Yeah.
would be the one I would go back and forth on the most.
All right, let's go to actress in a drama series. The nominees are Kathy Bates for Matlock, Sharon Horgan for Bad Sisters, Britt Lower for Severance, Bella Ramsey for The Last of Us, and Carrie Russell for The Diplomat. We got a handful of shows we haven't talked about yet on this episode. A couple of which these are their only nominees out of the main ones. Um, I think this is a lock. It's going to be Kathy Bates for Matlock, which would be the first network TV win since Sterling K. Brown won a handful of years ago for This Is Us. I want to say that was probably the first season that he won for. Matlock is, of course, a CBS law procedural. And Kathy Bates is both good in that show, and both Emmy voters and voters of all sorts love Kathy Bates. I don't think she is the most deserving in this category. I think that there are two actresses that are more deserving, and those are Britt Lower from Severance and Bella Ramsey for The Last of Us. And I actually wrote both of their names down for my pick because I couldn't decide. For so long, I thought that Bella Ramsey would be my pick for The Last of Us because she really carries season two. But then since then, I've watched Severance, and in some ways, Britt Lower carries season two of Severance. So honestly, I might flip a coin for that one, but I think right now I'm going to go from Bella Ramsey to writing down Britt Lower as my choice. But again, and I do think if anybody were to beat Kathy Bates, it would probably be Britt Lower. But Kathy Bates, I think, has this as a stranglehold on this award.
Yeah, I agree with you about Kathy Bates pretty much being the winner of this category. Like, I mean, I feel like her, Lower, and Ramsey are the only three that I could see being having their names read. Honestly, I don't feel like
Mhm.
Russell and Horgan stand a chance. Honestly, I feel like the nominations
Ramsey
deserve more.
Ramsey has absolutely no chance. Let's talk. We both think she was great, but let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah,
The Last of Us had way fewer nominees than the first season, so I don't think she stands a chance.
yeah, and which is a shame because
Sorry, I've been really bad with my pronouns when it comes to Bella Ramsey, and I want to apologize to the listeners. I don't think they stand a chance. My apologies.
yeah, yeah, Bella Ramsey. I feel like they would be who I would choose to be the winner in this category for me if I was voting, just because I feel like they carried this second season so well after the shock in the second episode.
Hmm.
And I didn't expect that, and I was kind of like, okay, where are we going from here when that happened? And Bella Ramsey just they killed it, honestly. If I had to vote, I would vote for her. But it's one of those things where, like, I feel like Kathy Bates, Britt Lower, and Bella Ramsey would all be a deserving winner in this category,
Yeah,
though. Like
yeah, no,
even Kathy Bates winning is a deserving to me, just probably not the most deserving. Like I think you agree with me on that.
yeah, she would be
But
my third choice. Kathy Bates would be my third choice out of these five. But I mean, she does do she gives a good performance. It's just that Lower and Ramsey's performances, in my mind, may be top 10 of the year, whereas Kathy Bates wouldn't make my top 10 list.
Mhm.
The nominees for actor in a drama series are Sterling K. Brown for Paradise, Gary Oldman for Slow Horses, Pedro Pascal for The Last of Us, Adam Scott for Severance, and Noah Wiley for The Pit. I really, really, really wish we could go back in time and give Pedro Pascal the Emmy for season one. I know Jeremy Strong was really good on Succession, but I'm pretty sure he had already won an Emmy in the past for that as well. I just hate that Pascal's not going to have a chance to win an Emmy because let's face it, it's probably not going to happen. I think he is at best the third favorite. My pick to win and my prediction are both going to be Noah Wiley for The Pit. I think the performance he gives as Dr. Robbie in the first season of that HBO Max medical drama is the most heartbreaking performance of the year. And just even when it's not heartbreaking, there's just something so likable about Noah Wiley's performance at The Pit. It's weird that The Pit is such an old-fashioned type show, but in that it's a medical procedural. It is 15 episodes long the first season, which is definitely the longest episode-wise drama by far. And it just seems like something that you could have seen on a network, even though there's reasons certainly why you won't. So it seems revolutionary in that it's actually kind of a throwback. I don't know if that makes sense to listeners or not, but I loved Noah Wiley in this performance. I think he is also going to win.
so I will say The Pit is the one show that's probably like the biggest show with like the Emmys that I have not gotten around to watching as much of, and I feel like I don't really have a good grasp or consensus on how I feel about it or feeling of how I feel about it just because I need to watch more. But I do feel like I do for as for my prediction of winning, I feel like it will be him. I don't know. I feel like it's between him and Adam Scott, but
Yeah,
and
I
I
agree.
can't.
It's between those two.
But I do feel like I feel like it's kind of weird. Like even though I still feel like it's between them two, I feel like I would still be very shocked if Adam Scott's name was read off, even if just because I feel like Wiley's kind of taken over the lead in this category so much. But as far as my should win, I might shock you with this. I don't know. My should win in this category would be Sterling K. Brown for Paradise. I was actually really mad at your wife for taking him on the Emmy draft. Didn't say that in the thing, I don't think, but yeah, I love Sterling K. Brown so much. I literally think I have like the biggest crush on him. He is just so talented and just can sell the hell out of whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how I was going to feel about the show in the beginning, but I know that one of the reasons I'm a huge fan of it is because of him.
Yes, I agree with that. He's great. I think he would honestly, though. I think out of these five nominees, he'd probably only be my fourth pick.
Well, and this is a really good. The only person I haven't seen in this category, well, I haven't seen The Pit, so I guess it's more than what I was thinking. But I haven't seen Slow Horses at all. Like I've seen The Pit, some of The Pit.
Gary Oldman is really good in Slow Horses, but I have not seen the last couple of seasons, so I couldn't really tell you what he's been up to lately on that show. The nominees for Outstanding Drama Series are Andor, Disney Plus, The Diplomat, Netflix, The Last of Us, HBO, Paradise, Hulu, The Pit, HBO Max, Severance, Apple TV Plus, Slow Horses, Apple TV Plus, and The White Lotus, HBO. The best television show I've seen all year is The Pit. That would be my choice. Here's where I may shock some people. Severance is nominated for the most awards of any show at the Emmys and has more than 10 nominations, has 10 plus more nominations than The Pit. I think The Pit's going to win. I really do. I don't know that if this is a consensus. I have not been looking at Gold Derby at all. I wanted this to be my choices and my brain and whatever I thought was going to happen. I think it's going to win. I think that there are people that look at 15 episodes and think, my God, people can make this much television in a season again. And I think the reasons why I was saying that it kind of feels revolutionary and throwback at the same time, I think that there are a lot of old school people out there that are going to see this and they're going to say, wait, we can actually do this still, even on a streamer. And I think that they're going to be thrilled by that. And I think that's going to be lead them to vote. Now, that doesn't mean that doesn't necessarily be a reason why one should vote for a TV show. But again, and that's certainly not the reason why I would vote for it, because again, I think it was the best show on TV that I've seen this year. But I think between how good it is and what it means for TV, I think that it might pull a what would look like a major upset because of how many less nominations it has than Severance.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, as far as like who it's between in this category, it's definitely between Severance and The Pit. As far as like who stands the best chances of winning, my prediction is Severance to win. I feel, but
You would just assume, and that's a great pick because you would just assume that the show with the most nominations should be the like likely and rightful winner. But you only have to go back to last year in the comedy series with the Bear versus Hacks to see that that's not always the case. Though
yeah,
there was a little bit more in that situation because some people weren't voting for the Bear because they thought it was misplaced in the category, whereas Hacks is definitely a comedy. So that's a little bit different.
yeah. See, and I even thought about that too when I was trying to pick between the two. I was like, well, I know last year we were shocked and I was floored. I remember when we were together and I was floored when they said hacks. Um, but I just remember that backlash though, and I know that had a really good thing of it. One of the things I feel like that's bothering me is like you said, and you even brought it up in your when you were talking about how they Severance just has so many more nominations, and even in the acting categories. And I feel like if the Pit would have been able to get more acting nominations, I would feel more comfortable because like even in supporting actress, I know you've talked about how there were so many other supporting actresses other than Lanassa that were worthy of being nominated and didn't get nominated. I guess the lack of the because they could have White Lotused it with nominations if and I feel like since they didn't, it makes me more hesitant to think that it could win. Not saying that means it couldn't, but
Yeah.
it just that with Severance having so many more acting nominations, it just feels like the love is a little more louder for it. And I think that makes it harder for me to want to steer away from Severance. But like I said, if any show's going to do it, I feel like it will be the Big.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Is Severance also the one you would vote for?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, Severance. I know we've talked about it. I know I for some reason I enjoyed the first season of Severance. And I just don't remember binge watching it the way I did the second season. Like I feel like I don't know why that was the case, but I feel like it just this I don't know if it was just because it was opening the world up more and I was more kind of used to like the world or whatever. I don't know, but the second season for me, like I binge watched and I don't do that very often.
All right, so I kind of wanted to do the comedy and drama categories first because I felt like they were the ones that more people would have watched this year. And I realized that if I had saved them for last, we may have lost some people in the limited series category. So yeah, if you're not interested in the limited categories, here's your chance to tune out. But we are going to go over them. I have seen far fewer of these than I have. I've seen every one of the shows in the drama and comedy. Maybe not the most recent season, but at least some of the shows. Some of these I haven't seen, but we'll go through the actors, actresses, and the shows here as we did with the others. So the nominees for supporting actress in a limited series, anthology, or TV movie are Erin Doherty for Adolescence, Ruth Nega for Presumed Innocent, Deidre O'Connell for The Penguin, Chloe Sevigny for Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, Jenny Slate for Dying for Sex, and Christine Tremarco for Adolescence. This category is either going to go to Erin Doherty or Jenny Slate. I think we can pretty much clear the others And I think Aaron Doherty is going to win. And even though I've only seen half of these nominees, she would be my pick from the three I've seen, which are her, Christine Tremarco, and Jenny Slate.
It's funny because like I every year seems to be the category that I never get to, and like I every year I don't know what it is. Like I still haven't watched the Queen's Gambit, Baby Reindeer.
You're
Like
so wrong. You're so wrong for not having watched The Queen's Gambit or Baby Reindeer.
I
Those are
know.
excellent. Those are two of the best shows of the last 10 years.
I swear, it's just crazy. Like, and this happens, and it's always like shows that are like good, and like I just know I need to watch, and I don't. And like for me, like Adolescence, I'm even intrigued by Adolescence, and I still haven't watched
Adolescence is only 4 hours long.
it. So yes, I have no reason
Well,
to not have watched
it's
it.
easy. That means it'll be easy to watch between now and the Emmys.
Yes, and I definitely think of all of them. I'm going to make that one the priority if I to watch. But so I'm literally a little more blind on these. I definitely can't give a should win on any of
Okay.
these categories. But just kind of doing the research and figuring out like what the roles were. The buzz is there for Adolescence, and I agree with you. I think it's going to be Aaron Doherty with Jenny Slate as probably the closest that could win.
There is not a lead actress for Adolescence, but there's a good chance that it could win in every other category we're about to talk about. A little less of a chance in lead actor. We'll get to it. The nominees for supporting actor in a limited series, anthology, or TV movie are Javier Bardem for Monsters: The Lyle and Eric Menendez Story, Bill Camp for Presumed Innocence, Owen Cooper for Adolescence, Rob Delaney for Dying for Sex, Peter Sarsgaard for Presumed Innocent, and Ashley Walters for Adolescence. Of these three, I've only seen the two from Adolescence and Rob Delaney for Dying for Sex. All three of those performances are excellent. Owen Cooper is almost certainly going to win this. He's a child actor, so that's something you almost never see. In all of my years watching the Emmy Awards, I can't recall ever seeing a child actor win an Emmy. So this would be highly unusual. He was excellent, but I think I almost well, I think that maybe I'm just not much for child actors, even when they're as good as Owen Cooper. I think that I would actually vote for Ashley Walters, who is the lead detective in the first two episodes of Adolescence. But you can pencil Owen Cooper in as a lock for this one.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of pressure was on this child to sell this. And I don't feel like if he couldn't have sold it, would have been the difference between it being the success it is and versus it not being a success. And I think that Owen Cooper is going to win for it. I feel like it really rested on his shoulders a lot, and I think he delivered from what I'm hearing.
The nominees for actress in a limited series, anthology, or TV movie are Kate Blanchett for Disclaimer, Megan Fahey for Sirens, Rashida Jones for Black Mirror, Kristen Milioti for The Penguin, and Michelle Williams for Dying for Sex. I've seen three of these. Kate Blanchett is good in Disclaimer, but that show is not good, and she is the only nomination for that show. So that pretty much tells you about that. Rashida Jones was excellent in Black Mirror. Of course, most actors and actresses, that's an anthology series, so they're usually only in one episode. She was really good in her episode. I don't see it as a winner, though. And Michelle Williams is excellent in Dying for Sex, though that show, the performances in that show are all really good, but the show itself was not my cup of tea. This is going to come down to between Michelle Williams and Kristen Milioti, and I think Michelle Williams, who has won Emmys before in this category. In fact, she won for Fosse Verdon, an FX miniseries a few years ago. I think she's going to win another Emmy Award. And of the three performances I've seen, she deserves it.
Just from doing research, I've seen that a lot of people are thinking Kristen Milioti is going to win for the Penguin, but I feel like she's not as much of a lock as what it seems like people are thinking because I was doing the research. I was like, she lost the Globe to Jodie Foster for True Detective. She lost it
Mm-hmm.
to SAGs because they combined lead and supporting, so it went to Jessica Gunning for Baby Reindeer.
The fact that Jodie Foster and Jessica Gunning are not eligible this year for the Emmys because they were last year, I think that may mean Milioti has a better shot. But I just think Michelle Williams is still going to win it.
Yeah, I agree. Like she's definitely not having to face those two people, but I definitely see that as like her being a lot more vulnerable than people probably think.
Well,
Because Michelle Williams.
one thing Milioti has going for is I guarantee more people have seen The Penguin than have Dying for Sex. I guarantee that.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's going to be Michelle Williams for Dying for Sex, but with Milioti as probably closest one to win, closest one to probably beat her. But
Yeah, this is a two-woman race for sure between those two. The nominees for actor in a limited series, anthology, or TV movie are Colin Farrell for The Penguin, Stephen Graham for Adolescence, Jake Gyllenhaal for Presumed Innocent, Brian Tyree Henry for Dope Thief, and Cooper Koch for Monsters, Delisle, and Eric Menendez story. This is the category I've seen by far the fewest performances. I have only seen Stephen Graham in Adolescence. He is terrific. He also co-wrote the series, so he stands a better chance of winning for that, I think. But I think this is also a two-person fight between Stephen Graham and Colin Farrell. But I think this is where the Penguin gets its win. I think Colin Farrell wins.
yeah, I agree with you. I think that it will be Colin Farrell. I feel like such a transformative performance, that voters tend to love. Like he has all the makeup and prosthetics along with it, along with just a solid performance, and he doesn't even look like himself at all. Because he really does transform into the role, and like that's the kind of things that they really do love.
Yeah,
And I
I
feel
know.
like
I hear so many people talk about how he spent 8 hours in a makeup chair for this role. That's all well and good, but that doesn't necessarily mean somebody deserves an award.
that's true. Yeah.
I mean that is a. I'm sure sitting in a makeup chair for 8 hours is excruciatingly, boringly painful to do. I could not imagine that, but it's just not really part of the performance. It doesn't really go into the performance.
Mm-hmm.
The nominations for Outstanding Limited Series are Adolescence, Netflix, Black Mirror, Netflix, Dying for Sex, FX, Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, Netflix, and The Penguin, HBO. This seems one of the more weaker years on hand for limited series. There are really only two that stand a chance, Adolescence and The Penguin. And I don't even think, I would say, I'd probably give The Penguin maybe 15% of chance to win. So that means Adolescence is a fairly a lock to win this. So I think that Adolescence is going to have a big night, and that would be 2 years in a row for Netflix at least to win this category.
Yeah, this feels like one of the biggest locks of the night. In all honesty, for it to be Adolescence to win.
All right, so that does it for our predictions show for the Emmys. Just a reminder, the Emmy Awards can be seen on CBS on Sunday, September 14th.
Sounds good.
I want to thank you for joining me, Tyler, and can't wait to have you on the show again.
Thank you. I appreciate you.